No, absolutely. There's no way. I'm like, okay, I'll do anything to avoid this. And so I said, okay, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I left, and then I turned carnivore.
How did you find the carnivore diet?
Well, I've had some different problems with my health. Um, Starting out with like low back pain that I had since I was a child. Um, I was probably 9 when I first experienced low back pain, and it just kind of stayed with me. And then when I was 25, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And so, I've had these things. I've considered myself to be a fairly healthy person. I've always tried to eat healthy and always really been into exercise, swimming and tennis and those kinds of things. And, but, as I've gotten older, I have been having more issues with joint pain and things like that. And I really enjoy watching Jordan Peterson. And he was talking about his daughter who uh, who cured her arthritis with diet. And so I started watching her videos, and she was talking about different, like eliminating things to help with uh, autoimmune disease, which I have. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease, and so I was watching what she was talking about and just heard that maybe eliminating things could help me with different problems that I was having. And my first thought was absolutely not. I like I like eating what I eat, and I don't want to change anything that I eat, and I enjoy it, and there's no way. That was my first thought. And Jordan Peterson's talking about beef water and salt, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? I don't even like beef. I don't, there's no way. And also I have a lot of bias because I used to watch Dr. Dean Adele. I don't know if you've ever heard or listened to him, Dr. Dean Adele, and he would talk about all the different studies that had been done, and I really respected him. One thing that he said that I learned from him. It was like, man, it must be like 30 years ago. He was talking about how I bought his book, and it's like lowering your fat isn't going to help you at all. So this was 30 years ago. He was saying this. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not worried about my fat then. But that was the one thing that he said about diet that made sense. But he said a lot of other things too. So the main thing was like, okay, well, don't eat too much, don't gain too much weight, exercise. And so that was what I was sticking with. And my main ways to do that was I would, for at least, I think it was for about 20 years, I would actually write down every single thing I ate every day, how many calories it was, and try to stay within a certain number of calories. And so, but my idea was I can eat what I want. I can eat, I should eat lots of fruits and vegetables, of course. And so that was my thought. Like, I'm going to try to eat 9 servings of fruits and vegetables. I'm going to try to stay within this amount. I'm going to exercise. This is it. This is the key to being healthy. And this was like, I don't know. I was sure that this was what was going to help me. And this was what was going to work for me, and nothing else would. And I actually had some neighbors, this was a long time ago, who started doing Atkins diet. And they're like, yeah, we're losing weight. This is what we're eating. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. And um, I just heard some things about Atkins. It's like, oh, yeah, sure, you can lose weight, but you're not eating stuff you should be eating, and you're just going to leave a healthy corpse. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't sound good. Forget that. And so I just went on like this. I'm like, why would I eliminate things? And but then I heard Michaela Peterson and her dad, and it was just really, it was very, what's the word? Convincing. I was very convinced by that story. And so what actually happened is I just was thinking it, mulling it over for many months. And, but my main conclusion was no, I'm not going to do that. And then I felt at a certain point, I felt like my thyroid levels were low. I was feeling really tired and just having a little bit more symptoms than usual, which I always have symptoms, even when I'm supposed to be completely on my thyroid levels. So was having these symptoms, and I thought, okay, I need to go back to my thyroid person, and I need to get my thyroid checked so that I can get it increased, because I think there's something going wrong, most likely. So I called them up and they said, well, you have an appointment in 3 weeks and we don't have anything sooner than that. And so that's when I thought, well, I don't want to suffer for the next 3 weeks. So I'm going to start just eliminating things. So I look it up. Okay, elimination diets for autoimmune disease. And I'm reading through, and they're telling us all the things to eliminate. And I'm like, okay, maybe I could do that. And then it's like, well, this is just the first level. After you eliminate all these things, then you eliminate these things, then you eliminate these things. I'm like, oh no. So I did the first part and I eliminated all those things. And I can't even remember what happened, but I ended up eliminating a lot of things and feeling a lot better. And then 3 weeks later, when I got into the thyroid specialist, my thyroid levels were fine and I felt fine. And I actually felt like maybe I was a little high on my thyroid levels, but she said I was fine. So I just stuck with that. And I don't know, just I kept looking at, and, actually when I went in there, I talked to her about my joint pain. So I love to play tennis, and I've been playing tennis since I was in high school. And over time, my joints have gotten really bad. So, for example, my knees, my shoulder, my wrists, my ankle, just one thing after another. And what I ended up doing is resting and then putting on these braces, 2 knee braces, 1 ankle brace, 2 wrist braces, a shoulder brace. And I would go out like this to play tennis because it was the only way I could play tennis. I actually took up left-handed tennis for a while because my right shoulder hurt so bad and my right elbow was starting to hurt. So I started playing left-handed because I was not going to give up. I wanted to play tennis, and it was very frustrating though. I was very, I don't know, it was demoralizing kind of and upsetting because it's like, it's supposed to be healthy to exercise, and yet I'm having all these problems. So I did talk to my thyroid person about it at that appointment. And she said, oh, okay, well, it's very common for people with Hashimoto's to start to develop rheumatoid arthritis as well. And so we really need to get you into a rheumatologist and get your levels in your blood checked to find out if you have rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, no, absolutely. There's no way. I'm like, okay, I'll do anything to avoid this. And so I said, okay, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I left, and then I turned carnivore. So I'm like, I actually Probably not that day, but gradually over time, I just went full carnivore. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not becoming somebody who needs their joints replaced. I am not this I'm not signed up for this. If carnivore is going to help me, and at this, I mean, by this point, I really doubted the whole fruit and vegetable thing, and I started thinking, probably meat is going to be one of the healthiest things for me. Especially, I really liked listening to Dr. Anthony Chafee, because I don't know, it just made sense, the stuff that he was saying. And I really enjoy listening to the doctors talk about it and what they're saying. It really makes sense to me, and it made a lot of sense to me. And so I don't know. I don't remember when I got on this, but I think it was, maybe in the winter. But by March, I was ready to go, just full carnivore. I was ready to just drop everything. And it just did feel like I was getting better. And I just wanted to get that peak health. And so I did that starting in March 2022. And kind of since then, I've reduced more of what I was eating. I quit eating, probably first chicken, because that's inflammatory. And then I just gradually, little by little, reduced and reduced until now I am just lion diet, beef, water, and salt at this point. And I've been doing pretty much that for the last maybe 6 months, and just feel so much better, just amazingly better. My back pain went away. My joint pain went away. I play tennis with no braces now and feel great. And not only that, but my mental game, I've noticed, has completely changed. In the past, I would feel just like nervous and just kind of, I I would be, what's the word? Just just nervous, or I'd get upset if I missed a shot, or concerned that I'm going to miss the next one, and always worried about, what's going to happen next, and worried that I'm going to just lose my focus, that I'm going to lose my stroke. And this has been my story with tennis since I started. Just like kind of at the beginning, pretty good mentally when I was a kid, but then this came on like a couple of years into it, just started getting psyched out when I play tennis. But now I do not do that anymore. It's amazing. I feel like just calm and relaxed and positive and focused, and I'm enjoying it so much more than I ever did before. So, yeah. And there's a lot of other things that have improved as well. Of course, there's the joints. As far as the thyroid, I actually have not reduced my thyroid medication, but it has stayed the same, and I've felt better as far as my symptoms go with that. Probably one of the biggest things that has been better is that I don't feel hungry anymore all the time, constantly. And after I eat, I feel full, and I feel like I don't want to eat anymore. And that is the strangest thing that happened, because before it was just always restrict, okay, these are all the calories that I can eat for this meal. I cannot eat any more than that. And then I'm still hungry, but I have to stop eating. And that was every single meal. And then between meals, I would be hungry, and I would be not even, and then hungry, But then also, then I'd have cravings. It's like, okay, what can I eat? And I'm always just looking around. Where's more food? Where can I get some more food? What could I eat? And just constantly thinking about food. And I'll tell you, that's probably the best thing that has happened, is that I'm not obsessed with food anymore. And it's like freedom. It's just amazing. And I used to get hypoglycemia a lot. So if I didn't eat, then I would just feel terrible. I'd be jittery and lethargic, and I'd just be starving to death and just feel just exhausted, just tired. And and if I ever exercised without eating a big meal first, the same thing would happen to me. Just I would get hypoglycemia, and I would feel terrible. So I'd go out and I'd be trying to play tennis and just feel run down and horrible. So those two things are completely gone, and I'm just so happy. And just that's probably the best thing that's happened since then. I've had so many, just like I have a laundry list of things that I do not have anymore. One of the weirdest ones was motion sickness. Like, I quit getting motion sickness. I've never heard anybody say this before, but yeah, I used to, like, if I was looking down or riding in the car, I always have to look out the front. And we're going through this super windy area, and I'm kind of looking down, looking around, and I'm like, I do not feel sick. This is bizarre. It was crazy. I used to get UTIs, urinary infections. I used to get pink eye all the time. I would have water retention, especially on any kind of trips. I would completely swell up. My legs, my ankles would swell up huge. Never anymore. I can go on a trip, no problem with any of that. Um, I think psychologically, emotionally, I'm a lot more steady. That's harder to tell than on the tennis court. Tennis court, that's completely obvious. I did have some people tell me that I seemed happier.
You mentioned that, you don't feel hungry anymore. And, certainly for me and other carnivores that I've spoken to, that's one thing that really stands out is you just don't feel hungry anymore. And you you seem to like, you gain back so many hours in the day just because you're not feeling hungry anymore, because you're not thinking about food, you're not preparing food, you're not worrying about food, you're not shopping for food, you're not doing all these things that you were doing before. And one of the other things I was thinking about, just as you were talking, is like, even if you had the TV on in the background while you were doing other things in the house, like that becomes a time waster as well, because then you get a commercial come on for Burger King or whatever it happens to be, and instantly your thoughts go back to straight to food when that happens, right? And that thing, I'm not 100% sure about your situation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but, for me, that thing doesn't affect me anymore. It's like there's a barrier there now between, like this barrier that's like, I have no emotional attachment to this anymore kind of thing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And this happened a year ago. It was my birthday, and I had some friends bring me this big birthday cake. Now, cake is my weakness for sure. And I mean, oh, I have eaten so much cake. Just everybody else is done, and I'm still Anyway, so they bring me this cake, and so I'm cutting it up. I have a school, so I'm giving out to the children in the class, and I give it to my friends who bring it, and then they leave. And then I went, I don't have to eat any of this cake, and no one will know. And I just was like, and I don't even need this. And I just put it away, and I didn't eat any of it. And it was just like, yes, freedom. It was amazing. It was totally amazing. So yeah, I 100% know what you're saying. I mean, I look at it and I think, oh well, that would be good, and I remember how good that was. But I'll tell you what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all to me, to go back to that. Now, I was like super hungry one day, and I was in my backyard, and it's ridiculous how much fruit I have in my backyard. And that's another thing for me. I've been like a fruit fiend ever since I was little. And so, I mean, we planted all these fruit trees and grapevines and blackberry bushes and all this stuff in the backyard. And now it just kind of sits back there because I don't eat fruit anymore. And no, I mean, other people are kind of into it. My kids are kind of into it, but not that much. And I was like really, really hungry. And I went out there. I can't remember why I was going to pick fruit for somebody else. So I went out there, and there were a couple of blackberries. I'm like, a couple of blackberries, that won't hurt. Had a couple of blackberries. And then I go through, I'm eating apples and plums and grapes. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just fell off the wagon. And I was okay. And then did the same thing again, maybe a week later. And then like this stuff started coming back, you know, the foraging and the thoughts and all that stuff. It's like, okay, Wendy, next time just eat meat before you go pick fruit in the yard.
Yeah. It's it's definitely liberating to be able to put that cake away and just go, I know it's there, I know it looks lovely, but I just don't feel the need to do it. But yeah, I guess that's also why I kind of avoid your story about the fruit. That's also why I kind of avoid going back to anything at all, because I know myself, I just know that as soon as I get that little bit of sweetness on my tongue, that's it for me. Is, under a pile of donuts before I know it. um,
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of like, oh, well, that's really bad for me. But fruit, that's not that bad, and I'll eat it, and then I'll be like, ooh, I want more. just just hard to stop myself. One time, I got a pie for my husband for his birthday, and I didn't eat any, and everybody else had some. And then it gets to be late at night. I'm like, that pie's in there. Everybody else had some. I should have a little bit. So I went in and I got a little piece, and I ate that. And then I ate some more. Then I ate some more. And then I ate some more. And then I'm like, okay, I completely fell off the wagon now. And then the next morning I woke up and I was cooking, I think, burgers. And I got just a little bit of grease on my shirt. And then I just started bawling. I completely flipped out. I'm like, okay, so I definitely shouldn't do that. It's not worth it. A little bit of pleasure for a few minutes, because it didn't take me very long to eat it, is not worth just completely losing it.
Interesting thing, a friend of mine calls this mouth pleasure. And, like, it really is, because it's like that second when it's in your mouth and perhaps going down, but then as soon as it's actually in your stomach, it's like, "Oh, I feel horrible." It's,
I
yeah.
need to eat more.
Yeah, I need to eat more. I need that feeling again, because this feeling of bloating is terrible. Um, I've gotta offset the bloating with some mouth pleasure. Um Um, so how is this working at home? How is it, is your family doing this with you? Are you kind of having to coordinate different types of meals? How's it working?
My husband has been great. He's been really great. He has always loved steak. He has always loved meat, and that has been the basis of his diet. Whereas me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat spaghetti or bread or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, whatever, just all carbs. That's been my life, and but he's always really been into steak and meat, and so he's great at grilling, and so he grills the steaks, and so in that way he's been really supportive because he likes it. But at the same time, he's like, well, I want variety, and I need to drink my, at least 24 ounces of Coke every day. And I want seasoning, whereas I'm like salt only. That's it. I want to feel good. And so, yeah, it's been a little bit of a cramp to his style. Is like, oh, we're just gonna keep having steak every day. It's like you used to be like that was it. He's like, well, what about something else? Should we eat something else? I'm like, no, this is good. But yeah, he actually he works at the school with me, and he's the kind of person who forgets to eat. Don't you hate those people? And so he would uh, be at school, and there's always goodies there, and so that's basically what he'll eat. He'll eat some kind of junk for lunch and then come home and eat a steak with me. And then for the kids, they're not. So I have that 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and um, they like meat. They're getting more into meat. I have definitely been getting them into eating it more for a lot of different reasons. One thing is I feel like it is really healthy for them, and to help them grow and develop and mentally. And then you've got the tooth thing, because the carbs are not good for their teeth at all. So I make their breakfast and lunch, and I've gradually made it meat, pretty much. Lots of different kinds they will have, and with like ketchup, and then water and milk. So I've just seen too much, seen too many kids, like with their teeth just full of cavities and, metal, and just, I don't want that for them. I want them to be healthy, and not to have all those tooth problems. I think that's the first thing that happens when you're little. And then as you get older, you're used to this diet, this high carbohydrate diet, like I grew up on. And then as you become an adult, then you continue on with that. And so, that's how I raised my 22 and 23-year-old. And so I'm like trying to get them to eat more meat. And one of them, he's doing more meat, definitely. The other one, he's like, no, there's no way. The 23-year-old he says, nah, I eat whatever I think tastes good. That's it.
So it's not for the 20 somethings, it's not something that's like an ethical thing for them. It's more just like, I want variety or something like that.
Yeah, I want to eat my junk. I want to eat my little Debbie snack cakes. And I mean, that's my 23-year-old. He is the worst. And I'm like, oh, we're going to have burgers. He's like, no bun, really?
But I guess there's time, I know at that age myself, I would have been the same, I think. Yeah, there was a period of time that I ate nothing but cup noodles, so it's
Oh, yeah. I I was weird because I was always into health, but I didn't know what was healthy was the problem.
Well, see, that's the thing. We all grow up thinking we know what health is, right? I was listening to a podcast the other day with a doctor talking about how a lot of his patients often say to him, "Well, I eat clean." And the doctor always has to stop his patients and saying, "Okay, what does that mean to you?" Because to them, eating clean means lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, lots of pasta, lots of rice, lots of white bread, or sorry, lots of whole grain bread, or something like that. And that's we've just all been brought up to think, well, those are the, I guess because of the food pyramid or something, where that's what clean means, you know?
Yeah, and after listening to that doctor, that radio doctor, it didn't really sound like to me there was a lot you could do diet-wise because, well, doctors are taught nothing about diet. So they don't really know anything about it and they don't study it and nobody does because all the big studies are done by big pharma and they're not making any money off of telling you the right way to eat. And then you've got big food pushing all this on you. And I don't think it's not, the doctors are not, they're just ignorant. That's all it is. I don't think they're they just don't know any better. And it's like, okay, eat less, exercise more, that's it. Eat lots of fruits and vegetables. That's pretty much it. Everything else you do doesn't really matter, is what I thought.
Eat less, move more, you'll be fine. Yeah. The
Yeah,
solution to
and you're
everything,
like,
eat less,
"I'm
move
wearing
more.
6 braces to play tennis." And yes, this is working great for me.
Yeah. Um, so is this it for you? Um, Going forward, it'll always be carnivore, do you think? Or lion?
Yeah, yeah. I
Hmm.
don't know about lion. So one thing that I have discovered is that, I've been working with, Judy Cho. You know her, right? Nutrition with Judy. And, I'm thinking that I probably have chronic inflammation response syndrome, and because I've failed the eye test and I have a lot of the symptoms. And one of the things that actually that has been worse on carnivore, but in no way makes me want to quit, is that my electrolytes have not been able to balance out. And so this has been something that's been bothering me, yeah, since March 2022. My electrolytes have been low, and I drink lots of Soleil water and minerals, daily minerals, magnesium breakthrough. I take 4 of those every day, and it just doesn't cut it. And I think it is because I have that chronic inflammation response syndrome. And I'm thinking that that's probably a lot of reasons that I've had a lot of the problems that I've had, and it comes from being exposed to mold and not being able to clear it from your system. And so after that, so now I'm going to start working with her, and I'm going to get some blood tests, and probably going to have to look at mold in the house and taking some medications to clear it. And then once I do that, I think that I might start eating more variety of meat. So not just beef all the time. I mean, it would be nice to be able to have some different things a little bit, and not just always, beef, water, salt, and that's it. So, but definitely want to stick with meat, and probably not going to add a lot of carbohydrates at all, just because I don't I don't like the craving, and I don't like that just searching and just where is it? I want some more of it. I don't like that feeling. I like being in control.
That feeling of control is very liberating, right? It's very like it's so nice to be able to just sit there very calmly and never think about I need to do this thing. I've got to do this thing, otherwise I can't control myself.
I sit and just watch other people eat while I
Mm.
drink my water and it's fine. I don't feel upset about it. I just look at what they're doing and I go, yeah, no wonder you have lots of health problems. And I actually feel bad because I'm the kind of person I really like to help people. And I see people suffering and I want to tell them about what I'm doing. And I have actually had my sister has gotten a lot more into meat, and I've had a coworker who did carnivore for a while, but just to lose weight. And and like my family, they've definitely increased the meat and decreased the other things. But most people, they just kind of listen to me and just go, okay, you're insane.
So yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like you'll see someone that's, obviously not well, and they'll have their shopping cart and it'll be full of cereal and all this other stuff in bright boxes, and you just want to say, look, can we talk? I can help you. But then, yeah, they're just going to look at you like, you're insane. You're a crazy person. Get away from me. And also, I mean, you also don't know what other things that person's going through at the time. Like the other person could be thinking about, oh, I've got work to do, I've got bills to pay, I've got this to pay, that to do, this to do, that to do. They don't want some random person coming up to them and saying, excuse me.
No, usually
I've got
I'll
the
look at
solution.
them. I'll just think, oh,
Hmm.
what you're doing, that's not help. That's not helpful. Not
Yeah.
helpful for
Uh,
you. And I feel kind of bad for them. Mostly it's the people that I know, and they
hmm.
tell me all the things that are wrong with them. And I listen and I try to be, just, just listening and not pushing like I do. Come here.
Hello.
Anyway, so I try not to be pushy, but at the same time, it's like, well, I heard that carnivore could help this, whatever it is, just
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I feel bad for them. And I have my dad has cancer, and stage 4 cancer, and
Oh,
I have seen so much about how cancer is fed by glucose and increased by insulin, and and then he's taking this stuff that's making him so sick, and it's like, oh, it might help if you reduced your carbohydrates, and he just, nope, I'm not going to do that. I don't like eating like that. And it's like,
mm.
you have no idea what you're talking about. And it just it hurts, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well. Firstly, I'm very sorry to hear about his situation. Um, so look, Wendy, I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's good to get it off my chest. I thought I would send this video to some people I know.